Hello my friends, I hope you're doing great. Just yesterday on my stream I discovered that the United States seized or detained, I would say, the oil tanker not far away from Venezuela, from Venezuelan coast. It was the landing operation done by United States Army using the Black Hawk UH-60 helicopters. It was similar to what Iran usually does in the Red Sea, seizing some of the international tankers with the help of the Soviet-made Mi-8 or Russian-made Mi-17 helicopters. Was like a textbook from Iran, but this time tanker was definitely in the sanction list, and the United States decided to take it. Yeah, so after all, it's maybe not about drugs, it's about oil. Yeah, for the drugs there are small boats which United States Army kapoots usually once per week. And now it's a big trophy, the big oil tanker. And Donald Trump on his conference already mentioned that it's the biggest oil tanker we ever captured. Yeah, it's it took all of the oil, it went to somewhere to sell it, and we captured it. Yeah, good job. So United States escalates in Caribbean, and we are getting closer and closer to this possibly full-scale special military operation that Donny may start actually. But still, I don't think that United States now have enough forces for that. Yes, United States deployed its largest air carrier to Caribbean Sea. They took it from Mediterranean, and now it's fully functional with its fighter jets, FA-18s. Sometimes they're flying not far away from the coast of Venezuela. They also take part in maybe kapooting those small boats, drug boats. And I guess from the air carrier those helicopters were flying to capture that oil tanker, as Donald Trump says. So Donny is like this pirate of Caribbean Sea. And guys, just for you to understand, I don't like Maduro at all. Like, I would like for his regime to kaput once and for all, and for Venezuela to become a democratic state, as I wish for any sort of the country. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran. I hope someday their crazy regimes, they will just be perished. But using military force for that, especially right now against Venezuela, I think it's not a profit for the United States and for democracy in general. United States may just waste its army resources, its soldiers for basically nothing, and people there, they will just, Venezuelans, they will just unite against external aggression, and that's it. It's not Iraq or something where people at first they supported the United States Army, but later on there was the resistance. And after all, it was a big mistake, by the United States to start that military campaign in Iraq. Now I see that they use the same terms as Bush used before. So for Afghanistan, I think it was more or less justified, after 9/11. But for Iraq, no. And all of those mass destructions weapons that were shown in the United Nations by some representatives from the United States. I don't remember the name of that guy, but he showed, those are chemical weapons and everything. After all, it was uncovered as fake, and the United States came out with this casus belli to start the war as excuse. It was like some sort of the mass destruction weapon. So in the current White House administration, the voices are the same. Narco-terrorists, they call those people in the boats, and they also call the fentanyl and other drugs as the weapons of mass destruction. But those are drugs. You have to fight against drugs, not against countries with military force. So they use this new term, for comparing drugs to the weapons, which is unprecedented. It has never been compared like that, and it really shows that Donny tries to escalate. But whether he has those guts to start the real conflict and special military operation in Venezuela, maybe not, because I see that he's trying to avoid that. And there was the remark from Pete Hegseth, I guess 3 weeks ago already. Hegseth tweeted that I have received the order to deal with everything of that, with those narco-terrorists, but he didn't do a thing. I was actually streaming by the time, and I changed the topic of the stream. I thought, we're gonna stream the new military conflict live, but no, it didn't happen. And since the time 3 weeks have passed, but what we have is just the United States Navy airplanes flying in Caribbeans, and they continue to strike boats. And just yesterday they took an oil tanker, yeah, the big one. So Donny escalates every step, like once a week, maybe once in 2 weeks. He threatens Maduro, he threatens in general Venezuela with military action. So it's rising up for now, but I don't think that Donny may start this escalation like fully. At least like it would be a very, very stupid move of his, especially then he's losing his rating. The percentage of disapproval according to any sort of the poll skyrocketed. It has never been like that for Donald Trump. And also elections, for example, in Miami, they show that Republicans in general, they lose because of Donny and his stupid policy. So I think Republicans already understood that probably Donny is not the guy who might represent their party. They supported Donny because Donny brought them victory in presidential elections 2 of the times, yeah. But now they see that Donny is not as he was before. He's dragging them back with his decisions, with his stupid ideas, tariffs, possible military confrontations, exiting from NATO and so on. So Donald Trump's policy is playing not that great role for Republican Party, and it could be like for decades and decades that Republicans will not win any sort of the presidential elections or maybe Senate and Congress elections if Donny continue the present vector. There are some of the voices in the Republican Party now telling Donald Trump is doing something wrong, especially with this national security strategy publication. I'm sure that Donny didn't read it, but anyways, there are some of the good forces telling Donny to stop, but whether he likes to stop or not, it seems like not. He is full unhinged. He is, but still I don't think that he will use his military force. It would be a very, very stupid idea. Also from a military perspective, yeah, not just he would lose more popularity in United States, but also like Venezuela is not Iraq. It is very complicated country for terrain, for jungles and everything. There was already one jungle war for United States. It's called Vietnam, and it was not popular at all. And it was like this vaccine against the wars also for decades for the United States of America. The next war United States took part in, like fully, it was a 1991 Operation Desert Storm in Iraq and Kuwait. It was a successful operation for allied forces of the United States, and the control of this operation was for the United States. But yeah, many countries participated. It was the common decision actually to start that operation against Saddam. And after that, it seems like the United States understood that they can be victorious, and they started the war in Afghanistan and also Iraq. And Iraq, at least, as I told you, it was a very, very big mistake. So it could be the same mistake, Iraq 2.0 in Venezuela. Yes, there is Maduro crazy regime. Yes, we don't like it, but it doesn't mean that the United States should use military force. Absolutely not. And I say that Donny in general, he's like Putin with his thoughts. Yes, he's not like real dictator as Putin. He's not like that villain, but he thinks like that as Putin. He wants to take Canada as the state of the United States of America. He wants to invade Greenland, Panama. Yesterday he spoke about Venezuela, but he also threatens Colombia. Yeah, he said that the president could be the second one. He even hasn't dealt with Maduro still, and he threatens some other president to be the second one. Do this job at first. President Trump caused somehow Maduro to resign. Maduro will not go. He understands that Trump is probably bluffing, and unfortunately, yeah, people in Venezuela, they unite also around Maduro's regime against the external threat. It seems like the sun is going out. I need to reduce the ISO just a little for the picture to be more or less stable. Yeah. So with his actions, Donald Trump actually gives more points for Maduro and Maduro's regime. Donny doesn't understand what he is doing, and his advisors, well, there were lots of the layoffs in the United States Department of State, in the United States Army. Many of the experts who knew the topic precisely, Russian topic, Ukrainian topic, Venezuelan topic, others, they were laid off, by Donald Trump's administration, and he got into power. And now Donny doesn't have a clue of what is happening and what potential result of his actions could be. So maybe because of that he might start this special military operation, because as Putin he might think that it could be an easy walk. As Putin in Ukraine, it was a mistake, definitely. There was a Russian general, is still. He's not caputed by scooter or something like that. So he said that we thought that 70% of Ukrainians, they supported Russian, just 30% we have to deal with, minority. But instead, then we see that majority, like more than 70%, they just hated us, and there was the huge resistance. So the same could be in Venezuela, of course, if United States would start its unprovoked attack. Definitely it's unprovoked, and all of that is hoax about fentanyl, which is not coming from Venezuela at all. And actually most of the interesting substances are coming from Colombia. There was the interview of Donald Trump to Politico, the journalist also from Ukraine. She's original Ukrainian, but she's the citizen of the United States. She took the very interesting interview of Donald Trump, where she asked him about the Honduras president, whom Donald Trump pardoned. He was detained, he was arrested, he was sentenced for many years in prison because he brought so much cocaine to the United States of America. And Donny said, I didn't know, people say to me that he is a good guy, so I pardon him. Like, what? And he also blamed Joe Biden for making this thing up for narcotics, which this guy, what's his name? I forgot, So ex-Honduras president. But Donny just needs that guy for him to become president in Honduras once again, or take the power somehow, or to provide his influence for Donald Trump's companies to work there. For Kushner, for Vitkov, and for... this administration is so corrupt, guys. It is damn corrupt. It has never been like that in entire United States history. I'm saying about the corruption happening in Ukraine, but United States, they have way more corruption, I would say, right now, at the highest possible level. And the foreign affairs are involved, all of those deals with Russia. Today we have more of the details about this Russian deal, where after all, the United States of America is pretty much okay with Russia to keep its troops in those buffer, as they call, areas. So Ukraine should withdraw the forces, but there is no demand for Russia to withdraw the forces, which is unhinged, as for me. So we are living in this parallel reality, in this timeline, which no one expected, actually. I think majority of people who even voted for Donald Trump, they are shocked of his foreign policy, of what he did with tariffs, what he continued to do with rights of people. And I think Donald Trump is racist. Just yesterday he called some of the countries and people of those are coming to the United States the shitholes, they call those countries. Like, what about the United States? Isn't it a shithole under Donald Trump ruling that country? And they also applied regulations for tourists. So United States immigration services require 5 years of your activity in internet. So for the 5 past years, they may check your data, what you did online, your emails, your social media, everything. For 5 last years. They may also check your relatives. No any other country, even freaking Russia, they don't have this kind of the scrutiny for tourists coming to Russia. Absolutely not. Yeah, they may check your phone just like that, this FSB, especially for Ukrainians. Yeah, but for most of the people, it's like, okay, we check your phone randomly. But even there's no check even for the tourists who are coming from some of the countries. But for United States, no, everyone should be checked. It doesn't matter where you live. For the last 5 years, they will try to find out your browser history, Pornhub, and so on. This is unhinged. It's simply filtering people who do not like Trump. So I have absolutely zero chances to visit the United States even as a tourist. There is no freedom of speech, nothing. United States is turning to complete autocracy, and we see how it happens. Well, still there is a resistance also from people. That's why Donald Trump has his low approval rating. Also channels, they continue to speak about Donny in negative perspective, many of the channels. But we see how Donny tries to isolate the information coming about Epstein files, about everything bad. Those illegal war crime strikes, how they want even to sue the International Criminal Court, because actually, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, Donny is immune somehow as any of the American president actually. But he might still be persecuted by the International Criminal Court, so they want to deal with that too. And America is using its influence now to protect Donny himself personally. We see how he fights against freedom of speech, how he wants to block media services. There is now the big scandal around Netflix, Paramount and Warner Brothers, and how Donald Trump wants to connect it also to CNN. They want to change the owner of CNN for it to be some sort of the MAGA media. I saw it is happening in Russia in the beginning of 2000s, how Putin destroyed независимое телевидение, so independent TV that I watched regularly with my parents. Yeah, we watched that one, it was really interesting, but Putin closed it, and NTV is now fully pro-Putin's media. Absolutely. Gives absolutely the same Russian bullshit propaganda as Russia Today, ORT, Russia 24 and others channels. They're the same, basically. They give the same bullshit. So for Donny, this variant is a perfect one, and we see how he actively tries to achieve that. He wants to block independent media or media which is not dependent on his will. The media which criticizes him and so on. Yeah, we are on this way and galloping actually. There is no like huge resistance from Senate, from Congress and from White House officials. There is no one in Donald Trump's team, as it was during his first term, who might say, Donny, we should not do it. No, they're all praising Donald Trump. All those Pete Hexets, Kash Patels, Pam Bondis, for them, Donald Trump is like this Tsar hero king. They all, thank you, Donny, thank you, because of you we are here, or something like that. Absolutely no one may say no to Donald Trump nowadays. That's why it's very, very dangerous. Because whatever he has in his sick head, he might introduce in real life. And he would have just pluses on the way. Everyone from his team would say, it's a perfect idea, let's make it happen. Everyone, freaking everyone. That's why maybe there is a peace deal now that was presented by Witkoff and Kushner, and maybe they know also how to manipulate with Donny's decision, saying that, oh, this deal is great, we're gonna earn billions and trillions of dollars with Russia, and they're propelling it now. It's crazy. So yes, we see the decline of democracy in the United States of America, and it's painful to watch. I'm not American myself, but even for me it's hard to experience everything of that, this information coming and process it in my head, like what is happening, what are we witnessing? It's absolute demolishment of the principles of the world stability, of democracy itself, yeah, the freedoms, and everything of that is getting perished day by day, week by week under Donald Trump's administration. It was hard to watch then Russia did it, but with America, I would never imagine that it is possible. Yeah, but it is happening. Donald Trump is doing it just right now while we are here. The only plus that he's damn old, and he will die soon. That's all. If he was young, oh, that could be a big problem. Now probably MAGA cult will die together with Donald Trump. I have like 100% guarantee that if he doesn't start something really terrible like huge big war in the coming 3 years, no one would elect MAGA-like politicians in the nearby future, decades and decades ahead, 100%. So maybe it's like this vaccine, Donald Trump vaccine against those stupid politicians. I'm also quite sad that after all people voted for him. Yeah, it means that there is also the problem within society itself, that they couldn't understand who Donald Trump really is. Even after his first term, I think it was understandable, and now he's getting even more crazier. But no, people voted, yeah. Populist politicians, they have they have some of the love from people, it seems like. Or maybe just those people who voted for Joe Biden before, they didn't show up for elections and didn't vote for Kamala Harris. Well, Kamala Harris, I think it was not the perfect choice for Democratic Party. Democrats, they also have their own flaws with their policies. Maybe people just tired of that and they decided to change the vector, but this vector is totally no-go. It will destroy the United States itself from within. It destroys the world order and the United States of America. Its economy, tariffs brought devastations even for farmers who voted for Donald Trump mostly. And yesterday Denys said that he will give $12 billion to farmers as subsidies. Yes, because his policy ruined businesses for farmers, and now they require some money to survive. Donald Trump is an idiot, absolute orange buffoon, stupid fuck. And it's very terrible that he is a president. And about Venezuela, I think he will try to avoid this conflict. He will escalate, we'll make it happen, yeah, tomorrow, and now we're gonna attack you, resign Maduro, and after all, I don't think that they will have enough resources to start this war. If they start, it's gonna be a very, the biggest mistake United States Army may do in the history of the United States. It's gonna be a very big failure, very big. Worse than in Iraq, similar to Vietnam, and that special military operation may last for entire Trump's term, 3 years, easily. That's what Putin wanted, to occupy Ukraine very fast, but it didn't happen. And that's what Donald Trump wants, to get rid of Maduro, to have this some sort of the achievement very fast. He's like this crazy maniac guy, theft or scammer. You need to sign this agreement tomorrow, sign it, pushing, and for Maduro, you need to resign tomorrow, yeah, come on, or we attack you. That's his policy, that's how he acts, like this aggressively. That's how he acted also in business. But the world politics is a little bit different. It's not working like Donald Trump wants all the time. And that's why he's losing everywhere. Everywhere where he touches something, it becomes rotten. And there is even confrontation now in MAGA with Major Taylor Greene, who resigned. And for Taylor Greene, it's like a cognitive dissonance. She still supports Trump, she says, but she was assaulted by Donald Trump. That's what she also says. And she understands the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Then Donald Trump, as some sort of the predator, attacks her, calling her a traitor. So she's scared about her life and so on. But yeah, you should hate Donald Trump or love him. Come on, came out with your conclusion, Taylor Greene. But it seems like Donny hates her too much for her to love him. Crazy what is happening. It's not just about Taylor Greene, it's about other politicians. And we see so many cracks now within MAGA, outside MAGA, in Republican Party. Yeah, with the Democrats, it's understandable that they are against Donny. But even within the Republican Party, there is no unity on Donald Trump. And it's just 1 year, soon it's going to be 1 year, in January, since Donald Trump became the president of the United States of America. 3 more years to come, and the events are just avalanching. What happened the last year? Imagine what might happen next. But judging on Trump's physiques, and he's open like that, like Sleepy Joe in front of the cameras, Sleepy Donny. Well, I think maybe it's not gonna be 3 years, maybe less. We'll see. With this shit show, it's very hard to comment on what is happening, but just want to give my own perception, conclusion on the events happening. Yeah, monitoring social media, standard legacy media. The old system is not out there any longer. We are in a very, very changing world, and hopefully it will not lead to some big catastrophe war. We'll see. Well, anyways, guys, that's all what I want to say today. Yap about. Ciao.